Checking in with one of the winners from last weekend with ISMA. They did a 2-day show, the Hy Miler, out in Sandusky, Ohio, one of the bigger events on the ISMA schedule. This, of course, was a co-sanctioned event with MSS, and I got one of the guys with me who won on Friday and almost won on Saturday. Otto Sitterly is getting ready to have a nice dinner. He's got one of the better backyards in the world. He's out in Canajoharie right now. 3 wins on the season, 2 at Lorraine, and, of course, 1 in Sandusky. He won the first night, which is a 40-lap qualifier. Otto is getting ready to make something very good. How we doing, man?
I'm doing good, Doug. How about yourself?
Doing very well. So let's start with the better of the 2 nights. Let's start with Friday night. They always have a 40-lap qualifier. I know Jeff Abold was the one who won that last year. How did you win on Friday night?
Well, we had a pretty decent car, a good starting spot. That was our best starting spot all season. We started 4th. And the car, between the car and the track, it was tight all weekend. There was a lot of grip in the track. I'm not sure if there was a difference of classes, the rubber, what have, or if it was just it was warm, but it was very dry, so not much humidity to make the track slick. Those conditions makes for pretty good, especially if you get started up front. Pretty good for us anyway.
Okay.
And then right at the green, drop of the green, got a real good start on the outside, and then just set sail.
And that was it? No challenges? Didn't see a nose? Nobody showed you anything during the 40-lapper?
Yeah, there was a restart. I don't know when. At one point, there was 2 restarts, but one was a double file restart, and Trent Stevens started outside of me. And, we went down into 1, and he and we probably just rubbed tires, no more than just rubbed tires, but he's a tough competitor. I knew if I had to send it into 1 on the bottom of him. That was my one and only shot to be able to make sure I stayed ahead of him. But a lot of times, even though you're the pole setter or the starter of the race, the guy on the outside a lot of times has an advantage of momentum, and they can tend to hold you down if you're on the bottom.
Okay.
But with as tight as my car was, I didn't want to give up the bottom. So that was the only thing. Him and I just I think it took some of the white off the tires. And other than that, once I got cleared of them, I could feel that there really wasn't a lot of pressure there. Then there was maybe 1 or 2 late race restart single file, and I never really felt any pressure. Of course, I talked to the guys afterwards, and they said Edwards was second, and I think he said there was like maybe 5 car lengths, 6 car lengths, something like that.
And you get
was
to
pretty
choose
much maintained
late in the race,
yes.
Don't you, on your position, either inside or outside?
Yes, and I'm not a very good decision maker because whatever I choose, I always second guess it afterwards. So you don't want to give up the bottom if you can help it in a double file restart. But really, you should have the advantage because the leader starts the race. But if the engine doesn't, if it happens to, stumble at all on a start, which mine can do sometimes, we're working on that, a little thing there to try to make it restart a little bit better. Engine-wise, fuel-wise, but if it does do that, and and you try to fire, and that outside guy, he's got the momentum, and then when you get the 1, he can, like I said, he can hold you down, and take that line a little bit. So there's pros and cons to each, going the top side or the bottom.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Held on though, got the win. So you had to be feeling pretty good coming into Saturday in the big race.
Yeah, I mean, I felt good. We made some changes to the car. Jim Bodner helped me with before the weekend, before we went to Sandusky. So our notebook really, we referred to it, but we were doing some things that we had never done before with this car. And ironically, we ended up with the best 2 finishes we've ever had at Sandusky. So it must be a step in the right direction, But the only problem is now I'm hoping when we go to Oswego and other tracks, I hope that a notebook is totally not, I hope it's still of some value to us. I hope.
Okay.
Everybody I talked to at Sandusky said their car was tight. It didn't matter who it was. There was hardly anybody told me they were loose. So I'm hoping it was just that track, that particular weekend.
Of course, you also told me, and of course I talked to Mike the other day. You guys, hopefully you caught that one. The picture I used was actually Otto trying to get to the outside of him on a late race restart. You told me you had a little damage on the wing, and you're thinking maybe that might have hurt you.
Oh, most definitely. I knew early in the race, Kyle Edwards slid underneath me going into 1, and sort of went across the nose, and it surprised me. And then I just pulled my car left, and I was going to cross him over and go. Well, right about the time that I decided I was going to cross him over, he blew the rear end in his car, and he pulled it left to get out of the way.
Oh, no.
And I stuffed the wing right underneath the back of his car. And momentarily, I thought we were really both going to crash. I thought I was going to spin him out, and I just got on the binders, and I just got off the back of him. But I could tell right off the bat, I could tell that it hurt the wing pretty good. I kept trying to, under yellow, I tried to stretch up in the belts to see, the amount of damage. I could just see that it hurt the wing, but I didn't know how badly. But I could tell that it didn't appear that it was going to fall off. So, hindsight, I don't know if it was the right thing or not. A lot of cars did fall out. Maybe if we, at that point, it was early enough, maybe if we had gone to the pits, maybe we could have put a wing on it, but I don't know. Hard to really say in a situation like that. You end up a competitive second
and everything.
That's right.
Yeah. So you dealt with it, and you said a tight race car became a lot tighter after that.
Yeah. Well, my car generally will start off a certain way, and if anything, especially if it's right, it tends to get tighter and tighter, just gradually. Not astronomically, but if it's right, it'll start off, say, a little neutral, maybe even a little free, like almost loose, and then if it's right, near the end of the race, it should come in and just tighten up to the point where you got a nice little push in the front. Okay. And this thing started off, it was pretty good, and then it just instantly got tighter and tighter, especially after we, it probably had a 14 or 15-inch hole in the top of the wing where there was just no skin.
Really?
So it took, a quarter to a third of the airfoil was gone. So, it ended up being pretty tight at the end of the race. Of course, it was a long race, so that can wear tires and all that. So it might not have been quite as much of a handicap as it would be maybe in a 30 or a 40 lapper, but it still didn't do me any good right at the end when I was on the outside of Mike, and I sailed it to the outside of him for everything I could grab. And all I wanted to do just one time is to get that thing to cut, that I could get to the throttle before him and have the momentum on the outside. If I could have just cleared him, I probably could have used up the track enough to hold him off, even though he was a little quicker than us. But clean air just means so much to be out front.
Absolutely. When you don't have enough on the front wing to do what it's supposed to do, that
right.
air does other things. So one thing I wanted to make sure we did here, because obviously Otto's off this weekend. He's going to be hanging out in his pool, like me, I would imagine. Next weekend, of course, is the next race for ISMA at Oswego. But there's something very cool going on, and we only got about 2 minutes left here, Otto, with somebody you had at your house yesterday.
Yeah, Bentley Warren brought his 61 Junior here to have me just get it going for him. We'll get it running this week at home and just sort of look it over. And he's supposed to take it out and do a couple laps with it just awesome. To show everybody that he has it. And hopefully he's going to drive it. He's trying to coax me into driving it, but I told him everybody that's there is going to want to see Bentley Warren driving that 61 Junior. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was definitely a neat thing. Him and his friend Dirk came, and they had a couple of drinks at the Tiki Bar here, and I showed him my place. And, of course, Bentley's just tickled pink to, he's a very modest man for as successful as he is. He's very, very humble. He's like, you wouldn't think somebody like him, he's in quite the position. And he's like a living legend. So pretty cool to call him a friend of mine.
So that's going to happen, like we said, not tomorrow at Oswego, but next week on the 13th, although they do have the Atlantic Coastal Timers on Saturday, so probably a lot of cool cars are going to be there. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you making time for me. Otto's got to make dinner, and I'm going to try to get there by 6 and see if I can make it. But seriously,
as Bentley would say, lobster.
Lobster. Yeah, you got to have that New England accent. I hear a lot of that on the tour. So great talking to you again. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, Otto, and maybe I'll see you soon, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Take care.
Hit that blue E, guys, subscribe. That way you don't miss all the fun stuff that we're doing here.